Okay, hello everyone. Good morning, all of you. So today we'll start with a quote: "Dream big, work hard, stay focused, and surround yourself with good people." Okay, these are the golden rules. So as Kalam said, you have to dream big, but that is not sufficient. You have to work hard. But even working hard, if it is not focused, it will get diffused. Right? You have to stay focused. But mainly, this is very important. Surround yourself with good people. So that is important. We call it in other language, in our language, like satsang. Okay? Satsang should be good because all our thoughts depend on the people around us. Okay, so we should have good people around us. And today is the birthday of the great scientist Niels Bohr, and he is one of the great in quantum mechanics. And sometimes uh, I rate him more than Einstein. Actually, Einstein and Bohr, Heisenberg, these are all at the same time. They are all quantum physicists. Okay, they came with the quantum mechanics. And so when Heisenberg came with the theory of uncertainty, Einstein could not digest it. He is a believer of God. And he believes that everything is determined. It is predetermined by the superpower God. And theory of uncertainty says anything can happen. Nothing is determinist. And it is against his own philosophy. He could not digest it. Within his age of 25 years, he came with masterpieces, all the masterpieces like photoelectric effect, general theory of relativity, special theory of relativity, E equal to mc square, everything he has come out with just at 25, 27 years of age. Masterpieces, everything. But the complete remaining life, he was trying to contradict his own theories because he didn't like the outcome of it. That is the theory of uncertainty. And he says God doesn't play dice. So it cannot be like probabilistic. It should be deterministic. That's what he believed. And he tried all his life, the latter life, to fight against the quantum theory or quantum mechanics. And his own theory, actually, photoelectric effect is the main basic thing of quantum theory, quantum mechanics, because the particle nature of light. And so there was Copenhagen Institute, and all the quantum physicists used to meet there. And so a series of meetings and lectures went on. Every day, Einstein used to come to the meeting with a thought experiment. All quantum mechanics is thought experiments only. Everything in thoughts. At that time, nobody could see the that electron microscopes. All those things are not there. Everything is with from thought experiments. So he used to come with a thought experiment which refutes theory of uncertainty. And he says, how can it happen? And all people used to discuss a lot. Okay, so a lot of discussions went on like that. And by the end of the day, Niels Bohr used to come with the answer that whatever your thought experiment you have proposed is wrong. And next day, again, he used to come with another experiment which refutes the quantum theory. And again, at the end of the day, Niels Bohr used to come with an answer for it. Okay, that is the way, actually, it is recorded Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. A series of discussions are noted down at that time. Okay, anyhow, I wanted to talk about this Niels Bohr. He was a Danish physicist who was the first to apply the quantum theory, which restricts the energy of a system to certain discrete values, quantums, to the problem of atomic and molecular structure. For this work, he received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1922. He developed the so-called Bohr theory of the atom and Leucid model of the nucleus. Bohr was of Jewish origin, and when the Nazis occupied Denmark, he escaped in 1943 to Sweden on a fishing boat. All these people actually they lived in a very risky world. Okay, even Einstein also he has to run away from Germany to US because of Hitler and all. And from there, he was flown to England, where he began to work on the project to make a nuclear fission bomb. So he is also one of the person in the Los Alamos laboratory. They have worked, they're very big physicists at that time. They have worked together for the atom bomb. So Los Alamos in the USA, where they continued work in the project. Okay, and Richard Feynman also is one of the team member here. Okay, later we will have a beautiful story at the end of the class on Niels Bohr. So he says prediction is very difficult, especially about the future. That's what the difference between deterministic philosophy and the probabilistic philosophy. Okay, so when you determine God and everything is determined, actually Newton's theory also says everything is determined. Deterministic universe, we call it as. So Newton says, if you give me the position and velocity of each and every particle in the universe, I can predict the whole future of the universe. You may feel it is not possible, but he has proved it through many of his predictions, right? So about a comet when it comes, and about eclipses, about various events in the universe of the celestial bodies, right? He used to predict after 100 years something happened like that. To the pinpoint of the time, he has predicted and things happened. So that's why everybody believed that everything is determined, right? Everything you can predict. But when these people came with theory of uncertainty, so it was uh, a blast on that. Okay. Okay, today is the 21st class on incompressible Navier-Stokes equations, and we just revise what happened in the last class. And we have discussed about Burgers equation in different forms. It's viscous, inviscid, steady, with convection, without convection, all those things, linear, non-linear. And then we have seen various schemes like FTCS explicit scheme, FDBCS explicit scheme, Dufort-Frankel explicit scheme, McCormack explicit scheme, BTCS implicit scheme, BTBCS implicit scheme. And we have taken example problem, and we have compared with the theoretical solution, what are all the schemes they give, and what error you will get and all. Then we discussed about incompressible Navier-Stokes equations in different forms. Okay, that primitive variable form, omega psi form, and Cartesian form, vector form, all those things we have seen. And we have compared the primitive variable formulation and vorticity stream function formulation. Okay, so if you just recollect, can you tell me what are all the special things we have talked about incompressible flows? Some points, if anybody can come out. I'll be happy with 1 or 2 points if you come out. And I talked about incompressible flow equations.
Density remains constant, so one of the variable is reduced.
Yeah, very
Solve
good.
that.
And which equation gets reduced?
Navier-Stokes equation.
Navier-Stokes equation, we are solving all of them together are the Navier-Stokes equations. Now, one dependent variable got reduced. Rho is eliminated, right? So, which one equation is to be reduced? So, which equation gets eliminated?
Continuity
Equation of state.
Equation of state. Right? Equation of state, right? Okay, so we got rho eliminated as a dependent variable. Rho is there in the equation, but it is a constant. So it's not a dependent variable. So equation of state is eliminated. Okay, that's very good. And what else? What are observations, other observations we have? I was talking about something coupling, decoupling, and all.
Sir, energy equation gets decoupled
Decoupled. Thank you, Akash.
in various
Energy
topics.
equation gets decoupled. Why?
Decoupled.
Because density is no more dependent on temperature, or temperature are no more dependent on
No,
density.
independent of
Yeah, independently, I can solve energy equation. When do we solve? If I am interested in
energy
temperature,
temperature.
temperature, right?
Yes,
If I am
yes,
interested in temperature, I solve energy equation. Otherwise, I need not solve.
not solved. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank
so that is what is called as decoupled. That's why, as I told, civil engineering people, they remove that energy equation from the Navier-Stokes equation set, and they will solve only continuity momentum equations for velocity and pressure. Okay, that's good. And another thing I was talking about sonic velocity and time step, those things. Can anybody come with any point? I gave the hint, and what is the Mach number in ideal
Zero,
incompressible flow?
zero,
0. And what is the sonic velocity?
Infinity.
infinite,
Infinite.
Infinity, infinite. So what happens to the time step from the CFL condition?
Very small, sir.
Very, very small, okay? Tends to
tends
0,
to zero.
right? Tends to 0. It is very, very small. So because of that, I have to take infinite steps, and it takes very, very long time to solve a incompressible flow equation. So that is the difficulty that we come across. And what is the other difficulty we faced about pressure?
We need a pressure Poisson equation. So,
Yeah, we need pressure Poissonism because I don't have equations separately. As I told,
okay.
momentum equations give me velocity. So pressure is to be calculated from the continuity equation, and I don't have pressure in the continuity equation. So I have to derive some pressure Poisson equation or some other method I have to find out. Okay, these are the various things we have discussed. And two methods of formulation we have seen: primitive variable formulation and omega psi formulation. Okay, what is the advantage of omega psi formulation?
We get individual equations.
Yeah, but two equations which are decoupled. Their continuity momentum equations are coupled. Okay, I have to solve. But here, omega equation and psi equation, they are decoupled. Omega equation separately can be solved, and psi equation separately can be solved. And what is the other advantage? Why at all actually we have derived vorticity transport equation?
We can derive U and V from psi.
Yeah, that's right. But why I wanted to do this way? There is one particular
Here,
advantage.
U and V are two dependent variable, but psi is one
No,
dependent variable.
not that. Actually, P gets eliminated from omega psi equation. There is no P at all. Am I clear?
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So when pressure is difficult to handle, right? So what I have done is I have taken the curl of the momentum equation, and the P is gone, del cross del P. And that is the advantage. So vorticity equation separately can be solved without bothering about pressure. And from there, psi equation can be solved without bothering about pressure. And from psi, I can get the velocities. Okay, if I am not bothered about pressure and I am interested in only velocities, I can happily do it. Okay, that is the advantage of omega psi formulation. And what is the limitation with omega psi?
Two dimensional.
Two dimensions. Okay, it is limited to two dimensions. And okay, if you want pressure, you have to again derive a pressure Poisson equation and solve it. And coming to primitive variable formulation, it can be extended to 3D. Okay, so here also there are two methods I have discussed. Okay, one is using pressure Poisson equation, and another is artificial compressibility approach. Okay, we will discuss about that. And in the pressure Poisson equation also, actually we have difficulty again about pressure boundary condition. So there are two methods, what is called as regular grid and staggered grid. Okay, so those things we will discuss slowly. Okay, these are things I will skip, all these equations which I have shown in the last class. Okay, we have discussed about these things. Multivariable formulation, what's this one? Okay, Poisson equation for pressure. So how to derive this? Pressure Poisson equation for primitive variable formulation. And we have continuity equation ux plus vy equal to 0, and x momentum ut plus dou of u square by dou x. Conservative form I am writing. Dou of uv by dou y is equal to minus dou p by dou x plus 1 by Reynolds number del square in non-dimensional form. Okay. In non-dimensional form, we will get like this. Rho will not be there. Okay. And the y momentum equation, Vt plus dou of uv by dou x plus dou of v square by dou y is equal to minus dou p by dou y plus 1 by Re del square root. Okay, this is the way I am getting. So I want pressure Poisson equation. What is pressure Poisson equation? Del square P equal to something, some function. So means I need Pxx plus Pyy is equal to something. So how to get that? Differentiate this with respect to x, differentiate this with respect to y, and add these two. Okay, so here you will get utx plus vty. Okay, first terms I have taken time derivatives plus u square xx plus uv xy from the first equation, and plus uv xy. Anything if you don't understand, you ask me. V square yy. Okay, these two terms I have written is equal to minus of px plus py plus 1 by Re del square of ux plus vy. Okay, this is the way we get that. And this, what I will do is, this derivatives, as I told, I can interchange first x derivative, next t, or next first t and next x like that. I will write this as ux plus vy of t plus u square xx plus v square yy plus 2uv xy. Okay, uvxy here and uvxy here. Yes, anything?
This must be Pxx plus Pyy, no?
Yeah, right. Thank you. Pxx plus Py is equal to minus, I will write del square P plus 1 by Re del square of ux plus vy. Actually, ux plus vy equal to 0, but that is after getting the solution. But if I don't have the actual velocities, it will not be 0, it will have some finite value. Only after convergence only I will get it. So I will write ux plus vy is equal to some d. Okay, so in the equation.
Sir, please repeat.
Ux plus vy equal to 0. Okay, so that is for continuity equation. But if I have the right velocity distribution, but I don't have velocity distribution now. So I have to find it out which makes it 0. Okay, so it will have some I will have some initial velocity distribution which gives me some value, some finite value, and after my iterations that has to become 0. Am I clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so this will, I will substitute some d here and this also d here, and del square p is equal to, I will take all to the other side. So this is del square p is equal to, if I bring those things, minus dt plus u square xx plus v square yy plus 2 uv xy is
Sir,
equal
these
to,
are the minus.
sorry, minus, right. Thank you. Minus, 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 and this will become plus 1 by RE del square d. Okay, this is the pressure Poisson equation. So this is elliptic equation. So which can be solved by point Gauss-Seidel, line Gauss-Seidel, point successive relaxation, line successive relaxation, ADI or ADA with relaxation, like that. I can use any method to solve this. Okay. Okay, this is the way a pressure Poisson equation for primitive variable thing is derived. Okay, I am doing with suffixes. In the textbook, it is given like this. I thought this is way you can easily understand. Okay, so these are the two equations are taken, and this is with x it is differentiated, with y it is differentiated, and it is written like this. Okay, so this is the final equation. Del square p is equal to minus dt u square xx 2 uvxy v square yy 1 by re del square d. Okay, so this is the equation I have derived. And for vorticity stream function formulation, okay, so we have ut plus u square of x, right? U square of x, I will write it as 2u ux. Okay, u square x, derivative of u square is 2u dou u by dou x, plus uv of xy, I will write it as here. Okay, next uv of y. Okay, otherwise I will write the complete equation, then I will write this. ut plus u square x plus uv y is equal to minus px plus 1 by re. That's good. Okay, this I will write it as ut plus 2u ux plus uvy plus vuy is equal to minus px plus 1 by re. That's good. Similarly, if I write this is x momentum and y momentum vt plus here dou by dou x of uv. Okay, so uvx plus vux plus dou by dou y of v square. So 2v vy is equal to minus py plus 1 by re del square. Again, in the same way, if I differentiate this with respect to x and this with respect to y, okay, so utx plus vty. So just like previous one, I will get ux plus vy of t plus, okay, so x derivative of this, there are two functions, so I will get 2ux plus 2u uxx. Okay, First I am taking u constant and uxx it will become. If you take ux constant, ux. So this is the way. Any thing you don't understand, you ask me. And plus I will take ux vy plus u vx plus this one now vx uy plus v uxy is equal to minus pxx plus 1 by rd del square ux. Okay, here I can take ux plus vy equal to 0 because I am doing omega psi formulation, right? Not primitive variable formulation. So here this can be eliminated. And in the second equation, where I will get 1 by re del square vy, right? So again 1 by re del square ux plus vy, both will become 0 like that. So that can be eliminated. And again this minus pxx in the next equation minus pyy you will get, and which will become del square p. Okay, anyhow I will write it here. So I will write this u. Okay, before going to that I will simplify this. Okay. u. So if I take this term and this term, right? So here uxx and plus uvxy, right? One of the term I am writing here, one will be there. And here I will take u common, and this will write it as ux plus vy of x. Okay, so which can be eliminated. So one term goes off here and this goes off here. Okay, and then okay, we will keep like that. And if I write the second equation, what happens is from the first equation, I can write the second equation. U is to be written as V, V has to be written as U. X is to be like Y, Y is to be like X. Like that we will get. Okay. So here, actually this is 2ux square plus uxx plus ux vy plus vx uy plus v uxy is equal to minus pxx plus 1 by re del square. And when I write the second one, I will get 2 vy square plus v vyy plus vy ux plus uy vx plus u vxy is equal to minus pyy plus 1 by re del square v. So again this will go to ux and v. Okay, this goes off. This will become minus del square is equal to, here some more things will happen. Again uxx and uvxy. If I take these two, again like the previous one, I can take u common and the ux plus vy of x I will get. So this and this goes off together. And similarly, if I take this and this, I will write it as v into ux plus vy of y. Okay, so these two also goes off. Okay, And so you will be left with 2ux square plus 2, no 2, right? 1 is gone here. Okay, only 1 ux. So I will be left with ux square plus vy square plus here ux vy, here ux vy, here vx uy, and here vx uy. Okay, something like this I will get. I think both will be there or only one. We'll see. Just do ui dx. Now somewhere I have missed. I think this will not be there. I think only this and this will be left with. You will be left with ux square plus vy square plus 2uy vx. Okay, this is the way we will be left with. And we have ux plus vy equal to 0. So if I take square, again ux square vy square plus 2x vy equal to 0 will get. And which gives me ux square plus vy square is equal to minus 2ux vy. This can be substituted here. So I will be left with 2uy vx minus 2ux dy is equal to minus del square, or del square p is equal to 2ux vy minus 2uy vx. And now I can substitute stream function here. U is equal to dou psi by dou y, v is equal to minus dou psi by dou x. So if I substitute there, ux, okay, ux is psi xy, and uy is psi yy, and vx is equal to minus psi xx, and vy is equal to minus psi x. So I have to substitute here. So 2, this is psi xy, and this is also psi xy, minus 2 psi xy square, minus here uy is psi yy, and vx is minus psi xx. So it will become 2 psi xx psi yy. So del square p is equal to something like this is it. This one, okay. Del square p is equal to 2 times psi x square psi y square minus psi xy square. Okay, so this is the way we will get. Okay, so this is solved if I want, if pressure is needed. Okay, so as I told, omega equation gives me omega, psi equation gives me psi, and psi gives me u and v, and that's why ux plus vy equal to 0 I am substituting. I have the velocity distribution which satisfies the continuity equation, and using that velocity distribution and stream function, whatever it is, I want to find out what is pressure distribution using the pressure Poisson equation. Okay, so the main difference in the previous derivation and this derivation is ux plus by can be taken as 0 in omega psi formulation, and ux plus by is equal to written as some capital D, some definite number in the primitive variable formulation. Is that clear? Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can you again repeat why ux in the primitive variable approach ux
In
plus?
the primitive variable formulation, I have to solve for velocity and pressure using continuity and momentum equations. Okay, I have not yet solved. So the velocity distribution, if I know, dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y equal to 0. After knowing it, after convergence, after getting the velocity distribution. But initially, I am assuming some velocity distribution. Initialization I am doing. And at that time, ux plus vy is not 0, right?
Okay, sir, I understand now. Okay.
Okay, now we will see using primitive variables how to solve it, and that too steady flow. Okay, so the one method is what is called as artificial compressibility approach. So when you have steady flow equations, I have ux plus dy equal to 0, ut plus ux okay, is taken conservative form. Again, non-dimensional form. If it is dimensional form, here I will have 1 by rho, here I will have mu will be there. Okay. And as I told, because time marching method is a very comfortable one and efficient one. So what these people have done is artificial compressibility approach. Here they have modified this continuity equation like this: dou p by dou t plus a square dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y. Okay, so this is the way they have written this. Okay, why it is written told artificial compressibility or something is, so a square, do you know what is this expression for a square? There are various expressions. One is tau by rho, another is tp by b rho, another is gamma p by rho, another is gamma rt. Actually, from this from this definition, it has come here, where tau is compressibility. Okay, which has units of pressure. Okay, and so tau is equal to dP by d rho by rho. This is the definition for compressibility, the change in pressure for the unit change in density, rate of change of density here, dP by d rho by rho. That's why tau by rho will become dP by d rho. And for isentropic flow, where P rho power minus gamma is equal to constant, P power gamma equal to constant, right? Or P rho power minus gamma equal to constant. If you find out dP by d rho, you will get gamma P by rho. So you can just do it. Rho power minus gamma dP plus P minus gamma rho power minus gamma minus 1 d rho is equal to 0. Right? So if you just simplify, you will get dP by d rho is equal to gamma P by rho. And P by rho is equal to RT from the equation of state. P by rho is equal to RT. So gamma RT. So these are various expressions. And that's why this is called as artificial compressibility approach. Okay, so what is the advantage? Now I am writing all like unsteady equations. Though my basic flow is steady flow, I am writing unsteady equations so that time marching can be done till steady state. Time marching till steady state is reached. Okay, so this is the way we modify the mainly continuity equation to write it in unsteady form, and pressure is to be there because, as I told, this I can say first momentum equation I can solve for u. Okay, time marching method. Second momentum equation v, and how to get pressure from the continuity equation, right? So that's why this dou p by dou t is added there. And this is in non-dimensional form. You remember that, okay? Don't ask me, sir, how can this PT and this units match? Because this is in non-dimensional form, we have written like this. Okay, this is the way we write it. And we write these equations in matrix form. These are conservative form, right? So I will write it in matrix form. And what are the unknowns? P, U, and V. Okay, I will write the solution matrix as P, U, and V. And if I write this as dou Q by dou T plus dou E by dou X plus dou F by dou Y is equal to okay, I will write this as 1 by RE N del square Q. Okay, like this I will write, where Q is the solution matrix is this. And can you tell me what is E matrix? That is X derivatives. From the first equation, A square U, right? And from the second equation, I have U square plus P. And from the third equation, it is UV, like this. And F is equal to A square V from the first equation. And the second equation, UV. And third equation, V square plus P. Like this I will get. Okay. So here I will write this as dou Q by dou T plus dou E by dou X plus dou F by dou Y is equal to 1 by RE. I will write some N here. I will tell you what is that. Del square Q. Q is equal to P U V and V is equal to A square U, Q square plus P, QV. F is equal to A square B V V square plus P, and N I will write it as 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. Okay, what it's meaning? It is 1 by RE into 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1 del square. I am writing PUV. So in the first equation, 1 by RE del square P into 0 I will get. Okay, I will not get anything. On the right hand side, 0. In the x momentum equation, 1 by RE, here this second one will be there, del square U. I will get this for the x momentum equation. And for the third equation, I will get 1 by RE. This and this gets multiplied, del square V I will get. Okay, this is the way it is written. Is the way it is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, is it clear or not?
Yes,
So
sir.
1 by RE n del square Q. So I will get first equation 0, second equation del square U, third equation del square U. Okay, this is the way in matrix form it is written. Now this is to be discretized. Okay. Okay, this is to be discretized. We will write implicit method. Because why we go for implicit method?
More than one variable.
No, not that. There is explicit you can use for 3 dimensions also. Any number of variables, explicit, implicit can be used.
For unconditionally stable.
Yeah, because okay, if I want to use conditionally stable, but what is the condition, CFL condition? I told you the delta t must be almost tending to 0, right? Because A tends to infinity. So I can never use explicit method in incompressible flow. Okay, so that you have to remember. Okay, this is Ij. Okay, Ij and n plus 1. Okay, now I will have n plus 1 here, n plus 1 here, n plus 1 here, and n plus 1 here. But if you see, E and F are non-linear. Why? Because of the terms. What are the terms there? You have UV, U square, V square, like that. Do you remember? Here you can see
Yes, sir.
U square, UV, UV, V square. These terms are non-linear. So I have to find out some way of linearizing. I have to linearize E and N. Okay, so I will write like this. Using Jacobian, I have to linearize it. En plus 1 is equal to En plus delta T Et. And higher terms I neglect. And this I will write it as En plus delta T. Dou E by dou T, I will write it as dou E by dou U into dou U by dou T. Delta T. This En plus EU is Jacobian. Dou E by dou U is Jacobian. I will write it as J. And this is dou U by dou T, delta T. So I will write it as delta U, like this. Okay, this is the way it is written. En plus A into delta U. In the same way, Fn plus 1 is equal to Fn plus B No. Here Q, okay, not delta T. Here dou U by dou Q. Here dou E by dou Q, this is written as delta T. Okay, not again. Dou E by dou Q into dou Q by dou T. This dou E by dou Q is A. And this delta T into dou Q by dou T will become delta Q. It is not U, it is Q. Like this. So A is equal to dou E by dou Q. B is equal to dou F by dou Q, which are Jacobians. Okay, so this is the way we write. Okay, where is non-linearization? So here you can understand with A and B. If you see what is A and B, A is equal to dou E by dou Q. And E is a matrix. E is A square U, U square plus P, U V. And Q is a matrix, P, U, V. And how to get dou E by dou Q? And this, if I take it as E1, this as E2, this as E3, this as Q1, this as Q2, and this as Q3. The matrix will be dou E1 by dou Q1, dou E1 by dou Q2, dou E1 by dou Q3, dou E2 by dou Q1, dou E2 by dou Q2, dou E2 by dou Q3, dou E3 by dou Q1, and dou E3 by dou Q2, dou E3 by dou Q3. Like this I have to get. Okay, so how to get the derivatives? What I have to do is express E1, E2, E3 in terms of Q1, Q2, Q3. So E1 is equal to A square U. How can I write? A square, here U is Q2, right? And E2 is equal to, can you tell me now?
Q2 square plus Q1.
Yeah, Q2 square, that is U square, Q1. And E3,
Q2 Q3.
Q2, Q3. So in this way, I have to write. Now I can find out the derivatives, right? So dou E1 by dou Q1, how much it is? There is no Q1 there, right? 0. Dou E1 by dou Q2,
A square.
A square. And Q3 is 0. And now coming to this, dou E2 by dou Q1, what will be that?
1
1. Dou E2 by dou Q2,
to Q2.
2Q2. 2Q2. 2Q2 means 2U, right? And dou E2 by dou Q3, 0. And now coming to this, so dou E3 by dou Q1, 0. Dou E3 by dou Q2, Q3. What is Q3?
B.
And dou E3 by dou Q3, Q2. Q2 means U. Okay, this is the way I will get. This is the Jacobian, A. Now, are there any nonlinear terms here? Right, I don't have nonlinear terms. This is linear. Okay, U square, V square, UV, those things are not there. So that is the advantage. Okay. So I'll quickly now go through this. Okay, all these things I have explained. This also I explained. And so this is the way you get the A matrix, and B matrix also you can get in the same way. Okay, you have to write F matrix in the same way, and you write. And once you get that, okay, this is the way I'll get. So I got Qt plus Vx plus Fy 1 by Ra. 1 del square q, and this is n plus 1, this is n plus 1, this is n plus 1, this is n. So this will become where delta q is qn plus 1 minus qn. If I write this as delta q, this will become delta q by delta t, plus this will become en plus 1 is en plus a delta q of x plus fn plus b delta q y is equal to 1 by re n del square. This qn plus 1, how I write it as 2n plus delta q. Like this I will write. Okay, so here what I will do is delta q by delta t is this, and delta q I can one delta q I will take this side. Okay, this I will split like 1 by re n del square qn. I will keep this side, and onto the right side I will bring 1 by re n del square delta q. So here delta q is common here, here. I will take that common, and delta t I multiply throughout. So what I will get is, these are all matrices, I plus ax plus by plus, this is minus, right? Minus 1 by re n del square delta q is equal to here these things will come this side, en x minus fn y, and this also will have, I think, delta t into this. Okay, so this is the way it gets modified. I am taking en and fn to the right hand side, en and fn, and here I am taking ax here and by here and 1 by re delta square. Like this I will write this. This is the equation. Okay, just I will show you. Okay, so this is the way. I plus delta t into ax plus by minus 1 by re del square into delta q is equal to, right hand side is this, delta t minus enx fny and by re del square. Okay, so that thing in a short form I have written this. Okay, so this is the equation I get. Okay, here what happened is, if you remember, in implicit, if I want to have implicit method in a two-dimensional form, what is the difficulty I face? In multi-dimensional, if you remember, explicit method, if you go, I have to get the delta t by 2, by 3 or something like that. Okay, smaller one. That's why I went to implicit. In the implicit method, what is the difficulty I faced? In 2D form and 3D form. In 1D form, implicit method, which I have to solve, TDMA I have to solve, right? Do you remember or not? Implicit method, one dimension means I have to use Thomas algorithm, tridiagonal matrix algorithm. In 2D,
Pentadiagonal.
pentadiagonal. In 3D, heptadiagonal. So because I don't want pentadiagonal or heptadiagonal, what should I do?
Two-step.
I have to split them. Okay, so ADI I have done, alternate direction implicit. So that only I will do here. Okay, this is the equation I have got. This I am going to split it, that approximate factorization. So I will write like this. X derivative is here, Y derivative is here. Okay, into delta Q is equal to RHS. Here, I plus delta T into dou A by dou X, N by RE, dou square by dou X square only I am writing here. And this into I plus delta T, dou B by dou Y I am writing here. And Y minus N by RE, dou square by dou Y square I am writing here into delta Q by RHS. I am splitting them into two factors. Okay, now I write them in two steps. That is ADA method. Okay, so that I will do here. Okay, so this is the factor, this into this I am writing. And here I am adding artificial damping also. In artificial damping, I will use both explicit damping and implicit damping. Explicit damping, fourth order derivative on the right hand side, and implicit damping, second order derivative on the left hand side. Okay, so here, these two factors, first I am writing this factor for X direction. I plus delta T dou A by dou X minus N by RE dou square by dou X square plus epsilon I delta X whole square dou square by dou X square into, this is like predictor, delta Q star is equal to RHS minus, this is explicit damping, epsilon E delta X power 4 by dou power 4 by dou X 4, like this. This I am writing on the right hand side. And this is the first step in X direction. And next in the Y direction, if you take I plus delta T, this factor I am writing, this factor. And here implicit damping I am adding, but on the right side I am not doing explicit damping. Only in the predictor I add the explicit damping, but in the corrector I am not doing that. Okay, these are the two steps. These are to be solved. Okay, still I didn't discretize it. I have to discretize them using central difference. Okay, so this is like this, delta Q. So this is delta Q, and delta T, dou by dou X of A delta Q, dou by dou Y of B delta Q. Here A delta Q, and here dou B by dou Y of B delta Q, dou by dou Y of B delta Q, and minus N by RE, like this. Okay, so this is right hand side. And this I have to write in central difference. So dou by dou X of A delta Q, how will I write? A I plus 1, A I minus 1j. And delta Q, I plus 1j, delta Q, I minus 1j. And here for this, again, okay, this is minus N by RE, dou square by dou X square. Dou square by dou X square of delta Q in second order derivative, delta Q I plus 1j minus 2 delta Q ij plus delta Q I minus 1j. And epsilon I into, this is the implicit damping term. And is equal to delta T into dou En by dou X. So Ei plus 1j minus Ei minus 1j. Here Fi by j plus 1 and Fi j minus 1. And N by Re, this again second order derivatives I'll write. And this explicit damping, this big one I have to add. Okay, this is dou square U by dou X square, and this is dou square Q by dou X square. This is dou square Q by dou Y square. Okay, so 1 minus 4, 6 minus 4 Q, and I minus 2, I minus 1, I plus 1, I plus 2 for X derivative, and J minus 2, J minus 1, J plus 1, J plus 2, like that for the Y derivative. Okay, this is the way I have to write. And this, what I am going to get is, now all are matrices. Okay, previously I am getting two tridiagonal matrices are to be solved. Now this tridiagonal matrix only I will get, but I will get matrices in the elements. So this is called as block tridiagonal matrix. Okay, so here I will get something into delta Q I minus 1j, and something into delta Q ij, and something into delta Q I plus 1j is equal to RHS. Okay, this is this I have to solve. So what is that I am going to solve? Delta Q I am going to solve. So what is delta Q? Qn plus 1 minus Qn. And Qn is known. I have to find out Qn plus 1. And what is Q? PUV. Okay, PUV at nth time I know. PUV at n plus 1 time I have to find out. Okay, so this I am going to get. Okay, this is the way we have to solve. Okay, you go through it. Okay, it is from the Hoffman book only. You go through in detail. So I have given in detail, and again, just you do it step by step. What is that it is done, so you can understand. Okay, so I will stop here. So there is Crank-Nicolson. I will just briefly explain, and then how to solve it using pressure Poisson equation. That is very, very important, and which is called a simple algorithm, SIMPLE. It is not simple, it is complex. Semi-implicit method for pressure-linked equations. This is, as I told, to the credit of Patankar, the SV Patankar, is IIT India product and IIT Kanpur, and they have developed this particular one, which is widely used in all the packages, Fluent and all packages, simple algorithm, right? So that we are going to discuss in the next class. Very, very important, right? So don't miss that. Any questions till now? So quickly, I will tell you. So what we have done is we have taken this in matrix form. We have taken actually this equation, non-dimensional form. For steady flow, I have taken. Here unsteady term I have added
Sir?
so that I can solve them with time matching method. Okay.
Sir, for
Yes.
steady flow, here U and V, del U del V and del U del T and del V del T must be 0. But
That's what actually these are steady flow. For steady flow, I am taking unsteady equations, right? I am marching in time till it reaches steady state.
sir, please repeat.
Steady flow equations only. Actually, ut and vt are 0, right? But I am not taking it to be 0. I am taking some initial. It is like in a room, there is a flow is taking place. Some flow is entering, some flow is leaving, AC is on and all. Okay, initially everything is at rest. I opened that, I opened this, and I switched on AC. So what is happening? Gradually, everything is getting changed. Okay, after 1 hour, it will come to steady state. Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
And I want that steady state solution. And I asked you to solve the steady state equations. Okay, but because I am finding difficult to solve steady state equations, and I am very efficient and very well conversed with unsteady equations and time matching method, I am very comfortable. So what I do is I will add this ut and vt here and also add pt here. Okay, I take some initial distribution. I know initially what are the conditions u, v, p, and everything. And now I give the boundary conditions. The door is open, that door is open, that AC is there, all these things. I incorporate the boundary conditions and I will march in time how these conditions in the room are changing with respect to time, delta t, delta t, delta t, like that. So what's going to happen after 1 hour, maybe after so many time steps, it is going to come to same steady state. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So I am getting the steady state solution. That is the way I solve unsteady equations to get steady state solution. Because time matching method is efficient. I can solve it without these time derivative terms, and if I have any method, I can solve it. This is another way to solve the equations using time matching method by taking unsteady equations and march in time till you get the steady state solution. Okay, so here actually if you elliptic equation, okay, we have solved del square t equal to 0, elliptic equation, right? Poisson equation. And sometimes what people do is, instead of doing this, you take okay, not tt is equal to, okay, I will do that. and this is parabolic. If you remember, I have taken Tt is equal to alpha Txx. This is 1D parabolic. Okay, and Tt is equal to alpha Txx plus Tyy. It is 2D parabolic. And if I take only Txx plus Tyy equal to 0, it is elliptic. Okay, if I want to solve this, either you solve this using elliptic method or you solve this using time marching method, parabolic approach, right? And you can solve it till steady flow. Okay, so this you are going to get the same solution with both methods. But one or two advantages. One is time marching is efficient, and another is I can know the history of the flow, how it is changing with respect to time. These in this intermediate steps will not give any physical meaning. But here in time marching, intermediate steps will give physical meaning. The flow, how it is after some few time steps like that.
Sir,
Yes.
so why we take the continuity equation as a steady state?
See, continuity equation, whether it is steady or unsteady, del dot V equal to 0 for incompressible.
Yes, sir.
Even if it is steady, they are unsteady. So unsteady means, okay, rho T plus del dot rho V equal to 0, right?
Yes, sir.
Am I right? And
Yes,
for incompressible flow, this is 0. I am not assuming steady or unsteady anything. If it is incompressible, because density is constant, this is automatically 0, and rho goes off, it is becoming del dot V equal to 0. No density there, and no time derivative there. I didn't assume steady or unsteady anything. Steady flow, I didn't assume. But rho T is gone.
yes, sir.
Okay, that's why I got steady flow equation, even if it is unsteady. So
Yes,
for
yes,
that,
yes.
I add that Pt I am adding there. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we go for the story? It's a very, very interesting story. Okay, it is about when Niels Bohr was a student, a graduate student, and sorry, so he is writing a physics exam, and here, so what happened? Sometimes it's easy to get caught within the bounds of where an accepted solution should come from. We need to look at the tools that we are given and get creative, not just with the solution, but with the tools themselves. The following concerns a question in a physics degree exam at the University of Copenhagen. The story goes like this. Okay, there is an exam he is attending, and the question given like this: describe how to determine the height of a skyscraper with a barometer. Height of a big building. Skyscraper means a building, multi-storied building. How to find out the height using a barometer? Can you tell me how to find out?
Calculate the pressure difference only.
Yeah, you have to find out the pressure at the ground, and you find out the pressure at the top of the building, and based on gamma g, the pressure difference, you can find out height difference, right? So that is the way it is to be. It is expected. The professor has expected like that and has given this problem, this question. And one student replied, okay, he has replied like this: you tie a long piece of string to the neck of the barometer, then lower the barometer from the roof of the skyscraper to the ground. And the length of the string plus the length of the barometer will give the height of the building. He has written like that. And this highly original answer so incensed the examiner that the student was failed immediately. So he thought he is joking at me, uh, and he has failed. And then the student appealed on the grounds that his answer was indisputably correct. So what did I do wrong? I have given a right answer. So you can find out the length of the rope and you can get the height of the building. And he told I am right and why I should be failed. And the university appointed an independent arbiter, a mediator, right? Another professor is appointed to decide the case. And the arbiter, the new professor, he judged that the answer was indeed correct, but did not display any noticeable knowledge of physics. But there is no physics there. That's why you are failed. And but he told, I have given the right answer. Then he is given a chance to resolve the problem. It was decided to call the student in and allow him 6 minutes in which to provide a verbal answer which shows at least a minimal familiarity with the basic principles of physics. So he is given a chance. Okay, you come with some answer in 6 minutes with some physics in it. And for 5 minutes, he is given 6 minutes time. But for 5 minutes, the student sat in silence, forehead creased in thought. He was thinking like that. And the arbiter was impatient. He was not telling any answer. The arbiter reminded him that time was running out. To which the student replied that he had several extremely relevant answers, but couldn't make up his mind which to use. And he told, I have many answers. I don't know what is that I have to tell. And on being advised to hurry up, the student replied as follows. He has given multiple answers. This is very interesting. Okay, answer 1. He says, firstly, you could take the barometer up to the roof of the skyscraper, drop it over the edge. You just drop it there and measure the time it takes to reach the ground. Okay, and the time S is equal to half gt square, h is equal to half gt square, you can calculate, but bad luck on the barometer because barometer will be gone. So that is the first answer he has given. And this is physics, right? It is physics. And answer 2, if the sun is shining, you could measure the height of the barometer, then set it on end, measure the length of its shadow. Then you measure the length of the building shadow, and thereafter it is simple matter of proportional triangles, right? So similar triangles if you can take, because you know the height and also the shadow for the small triangle, you can find out the height of the building. So that is the second answer he has given. And third answer, but if you wanted to be highly scientific about it, you could tie a short piece of string to the barometer and swing it like a pendulum, first at ground level and then at the roof of the skyscraper. And the height is worked out to be the difference in the gravitational restoring force, 2 pi root of L by Z. There you know the gravitational force, here you know the gravitational force. And so in that way, you can find out the height of the building. And again, similar answer, tying a piece of string to the barometer and swinging it like a pendulum, both on the ground and on the roof, and from the known pendulum length and swing period, based on the period, right? Calculate the gravitational field for the 2 cases. So there G and here G you can find out. And using Newton's law of gravitation, calculate the radial altitude of both ground and the roof. The difference will be the height of the building. From the center, you know the distance to the ground and distance to the roof, and you can find out the difference. And another some common sense answers he has given. If the skyscraper has an outside emergency staircase, it would be easier to walk up it and mark off the heights of skyscraper in barometer lengths and then add them up. How many heights of barometer is the total height? You can just add them. That is another answer he has given. And one funny answer he has given. If you merely wanted to be boring and orthodox about it, of course, you could use the barometer to measure the, another thing it is given. This is the actual answer. To measure the air pressure on the roof of the skyscraper and on the ground and convert the difference in millibars into feet and give the height of the building. But since we are constantly being exhorted to exercise independence of mind and apply scientific methods, undoubtedly the best way would be to knock on the builder's door and say to him, if you would like a new barometer, then just tell me the height of the skyscraper. Okay, give it and he will tell you the height. Okay, this is the way he has given the answers. And okay, the same thing here. And measuring the pressure difference on the ground and roof and calculating the height difference, this is the expected answer. The student was Niels Bohr, who was known for proposing the model of the atom wherein electrons were much like the planets in our solar system orbiting around the nucleus. Niels Bohr went on to be the first Dane to win the Nobel Prize for Physics and even had an element named after him. And one of his sons also subsequently won a Nobel Prize. Okay, so that's it. So that is the great talent of Niels Bohr. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So I think we
Thank
will
you,
meet again only after your break, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 week you have given break, right? Next week.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And so when is the mid date you have fixed? Next Saturday, huh?
Yes, sir. 16th, sir. 16th in the afternoon, 2 to 4.
15. That is next Saturday, right? Okay, next Saturday. Okay then. Okay, see you
Syllabus is
then.
up to. Yes.
Okay, I will exclude this incompressible flows.
Okay. Up to Burger.
Yeah, after budget.
Sir, what will be the timing of the exam, sir? Mid,
Hmm?
timing for the mid exam.
I think you are telling, no? Which time you are telling?
Sir, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m.
2 to 4 you want? 2 to 4?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, on Saturday 2 to 4.
Sir,
Yes.